Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
we're back.
Yes, we are. And
Sorry
so
for
are
all
you.
of you guys.
Yep.
Is this the same sweatshirt that I wore last week?
I can check.
That's embarrassing. But to be honest, that it's probably the same sweatshirt. Is it?
I'll tell you. Dismiss.
I have a very diverse wardrobe. I don't.
It's not. You are safe. You wore your Nassau one last time. So,
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah. And
Oh,
I
good.
intentionally didn't pick my red shirt last time, even though that's like my most comfortable shirt. I'm like, I wore that one last time.
You're funny.
Thanks.
Whoa.
But yeah, welcome back to another video/audio episode of Famdamly.
If you're here after watching last week's, you are back and we're happy for you.
Yep.
And we're also questioning your sanity a little bit.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Period question mark.
Well, they can join the insane family
Heck yeah.
because we are the parents.
That's why we call this Famdamly, is because you're just part of the Famdamly.
Mm-hmm. The video was still going. Whoops. Anyway, how are you?
Good. No, I'm good. I am very excited to sleep tonight.
Yes.
Did we talk about that already?
We might have.
I started working again after maternity leave, and they asked me to take over the night shift. So
Lucky you.
I jumped on the opportunity just because having the day off with the girls has been so nice.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm trying to figure out, when do I sleep?
You don't.
I don't.
Until the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a little rough. There's been a couple days ago, for example, I think I got like 2 hours of sleep total. And so the whole day I was like catnapping here and there. And I just felt so useless. Oh yeah, and I just went to bed that night just like feeling like a zombie.
Yeah.
Or I took a nap that night before my shift feeling like a zombie. But anyways, I'm excited because I actually get to sleep in my own bed tonight and not just rely on napping. It does work. I do collectively get enough sleep that I can usually function, but that day was just particularly bad. I think that was also the day that we had our car drama, which
we haven't talked about that yet either.
Has been an ongoing saga. If anybody knows us, knows that we have the worst luck in cars.
The worst luck with cars.
Oh my gosh. And we just got word that our car needs a new engine, which is going to cost 10 grand. So,
which is more than what the car's worth itself.
Womp womp. Nope. We have decided to ditch that vehicle and we're selling it. So,
yep. Upgrading.
That's our third SUV in 4 years that we've gone through.
Yeah, we didn't need to talk about it though.
Our next car is going to be a minivan because we've heard people have better luck with those.
Yeah.
So,
fingers crossed.
Anyways, so remember how last week I told you I had like a list of things I wanted to talk about?
Yes.
One of the things I want to talk about is actually perfect because today is the day that we're recording is your mom's birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Melody. We love you. The reason that I thought about this obviously was because my birthday was a few weeks ago. And what's really fun is a lot of places give you free stuff on your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to talk about that because it's super fun. And if you're adventurous, you can go and redeem all these free things. And a lot of them don't require you to redeem it on your birthday alone. Like you can go
like a week after
or even a month. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So, like Chick-fil-A does the whole month. Which is actually really funny. I don't know how this happened, but on the Chick-fil-A app, they think my birthday is the day after.
The 11th?
Yeah, and I probably just typed it in wrong, but I can't edit it, so it's fine. I just get free food the next day, I guess. But yeah.
We do love free food.
Do you know any off the top of your head places that do that?
The breakfast thing?
Or like free food? Or free anything for your birthday?
Most of them do. Olive Garden does, Buffalo Wild Wings, Chick-fil-A.
What is Buffalo Wild Wings? Oh, wait, no, I did that one. What does Olive Garden do?
I don't remember.
Oh, well, Buffalo Wild Wings gives you
it's like a free dessert.
6 free wings, which I redeemed.
Yep.
On my birthday. It was kind of nice because I was like running errands on my birthday to redeem all this free stuff, which kind of sounds like a chore, but I'm a mom of 2 kids now, so any reason to get out of the house is exciting. So Went to Crumble, got a free cookie. Blah, 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 I can't talk. Starbucks does a free drink. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, like I said. And then I think I have a free something, like a free drink or something from Taco Bell that I haven't redeemed yet.
Maybe.
Chick-fil-A did an entree. It was either nuggets or a breakfast item, and we went with nuggets.
Nuggets are great.
And then I have another list. So we don't have a Moe's here, but you can get a free burrito if you have a Moe's close by.
I don't know what that is.
There's BJ's Restaurant and Brew House that give you a free Pizookie. What is that?
I've never been to BJ's, so
I don't know what that is, but the name is exciting.
A Pizookie. I'm gonna look it up.
I need it.
Continue your list. I'm gonna.
Baskin Robbins will do a free 4-ounce ice cream scoop. Slim Chickens will do a free jar of dessert. Culver's will do a free custard scoop. What?
It's a pizza cookie.
Oh my goodness.
Pizookie.
I need that. I literally don't even know what a BJ's is, but I need it.
We don't really have one here, so.
I need it. Tropical Smoothie Cafe gives you a free 24-ounce smoothie. Denny's gives a free everyday value slam. Papa John's free chocolate chip cookies. Most of this is like dessert.
Mm-hmm.
The Habit Burger Grill will give you a free burger.
Heck yeah.
Black Bear Diner will give you a free breakfast entree. Costa Vida will give you a free dessert. Smash Burger, free shake. Yada yada. There's a whole list here.
If you have any of these in your area and it's your birthday,
yeah,
give it to us because we're hungry.
P.F. Chang's gives you a free appetizer or a free dessert. Red Lobster gives you a free chocolate wave, which is a chocolate cake slice with vanilla ice cream.
Nice.
Auntie Annie's will give you a free pretzel. So if you guys know anybody who celebrates a birthday at least once a year, send them this podcast.
At least once a year.
Also, Sbarro's will give you a free pizza slice.
Heck yeah.
There's a huge list. Like, just honestly Google it, and people have made lists and lists and lists. Like, Sephora will give you a free item. If that's something you're into, if you don't want like the food, go to TikTok. People do videos about it too. But seriously, like, send them this podcast and get that little itch in their brain.
Not just for this list, just because we're great.
Exactly. I was just trying to get onto that. But anyways, happy birthday, Melody. I hope you got at least something for your birthday if you're into all that free stuff. So
yeah,
thanks for letting me take this little time to shout out literally every company I can think of.
Sure. All right. Well, do I have a story for you?
I don't know. Do you? I would hope so. It's
That's
your
why I'm
episode.
asking. Yeah, I have a story for you.
I love how we're like both saying the same thing, but like in different fonts.
All right. Firstly, I got some jokes.
Do you?
To be honest, a lot of these jokes, they're Scottish jokes. It's a little insight to what we're talking about today, but I didn't understand a lot of them. Okay. So here's some ones that I didn't understand. What sort of bread do they eat in Scotland?
I don't know what.
Gaelic bread instead of garlic bread.
Oh, yeah, that one went over my head until you explained it.
What do Scottish witches eat? Haggis.
Oh my gosh.
Just laugh. Thank you. Why do bagpipers walk while they play?
Why?
To get away from the noise. And last one. What's the coldest place in Scotland?
I don't know.
Edinburgh.
That's funny.
Anyway.
Scotland.
What are we talking about today?
The Loch Ness Monster?
No.
Aww.
If it was Loch Ness Monster, there were a couple Loch Ness Monster jokes on there, and I almost shared those. I'm like, I don't want to think that's what we're talking about.
I want to get my hopes up.
Exactly.
I've been to Scotland.
Have you? Oh, yeah, I knew that. When you were living in England.
Have I told that story on the podcast?
I don't think you have. You want to share it? We're
Should
talking
I
about
do it
Scotland. It's
now
relevant.
or should I do it later?
You can do it now.
Okay, so my family, we lived in England for a while because my dad is military or was military. And my parents decided that while in England, we might as well be the ultimate tourists. And so we traveled everywhere. And so I've been to a lot of places in England and around England and just everywhere. But I mean, I was a kid, so I don't remember a lot of it, but it's still pretty cool. It's like my claim to English fame.
Just going to Scotland.
So we went to Scotland. That was one of our trips. And I don't remember a ton of the trip, but I do remember finding out, like we went to like this motel-ish type thing. And some of the, if I'm remembering the story correctly, some of the motel workers came knocking on our door, pounding on our door in the middle of the night, basically, or wee hours of the morning, whatever, because our carport, where our car was burning to the ground.
Yeah.
So we were tourists on a vacation. See, here we are complaining about all of our car problems.
We haven't had one that's caught on fire yet.
Well, the thing is that it didn't just catch on fire; it was lit on fire. Like there were robbers; they were looting through the cars, and they happened to choose our car. They broke into it and they got a bunch of stuff and lit it on fire. And what's interesting is that a lot of our stuff was left behind. Like they kind of left a pile of stuff in the middle of this parking garage. And I think what happened is they lit the car on fire and it caught way quicker than they thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And they got spooked and ran and didn't take everything with them that they stole, which was lucky for us because we ended up getting a lot of our stuff back that way. But a lot of other things were gone forever. Like I remember my coat was missing because it was burned in the car, and my older brother complained about a toy or something like that, and it's like, well, I can't do anything about it. It's gone. It's burnt to the ground. But yeah, that's our little story. We have pictures of it in my scrapbook. Maybe I'll see if I can find one. But
cool.
That's my memory of Scotland.
Yeah, I've never been to Scotland, so
if you go there, just beware. Apparently, I don't know if it's still true today, but apparently burning cars was a very common offense back in the late 90s. Early 2000s.
Could have fooled me.
Back in Scotland. You have a hair hanging from your beard. I got it.
Thank you.
Look at me being such a good wife. A good podcast host. Watching out
You're
for you.
so good to me.
Okay, now that I've told my story, I'm very excited to hear yours.
Cool. Well, I'm sure you just saw my notes here.
Well,
I'm on my fancy iPad.
It's very fancy. I can't read that from over here.
Oh, okay. Because you're blind as a bat.
I am very blind. I also have a microphone in front of me. It's like blocking my view.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, today we are talking about Mary, Queen of Scots.
Okay.
Mary, Queen of Scots. So, the story begins on December 14th. I didn't put the year. It was 1520. I'm going to look it up.
Long time ago.
A very long time ago. Like over 500 years. At least. Oh, it was 40.
Guys, this is like pre-Twilight era.
Yeah, it was 1542 is when this year was. So December 14th, 1542. King James V of Scotland passed away, leaving his only legitimate child, Mary, as the reigning ruler of Scotland at just a young age of 6 days old.
Oh.
Yep. Mary
Wait,
the First.
so she became the queen?
Yeah, basically.
At 6 days old.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a whole week.
Obviously, she's not like doing anything until she matures a little bit naturally.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway.
What were you doing at 6 days old?
Drinking milk. Poop in my pants, probably. Nothing's changed. I'm just kidding. So Mary the First of Scotland was born on the 8th of December, 1542, to King James V of Scotland and his wife, Mary Guise of France. Okay. One important thing to note is that during this time, France and Scotland had kind of like a little alliance. There was a lot of like, they had like a little love triangle, like England, Scotland, and France.
Okay.
And they're very prominent in the story. Many rumors went around that Mary was a weak and frail infant, but during her christening, one French diplomat was able to refute this, claiming that she was as healthy as a healthier baby as one could expect a child of her age. Since Mary was but a wee lass, because it's Scottish, the country was governed by regents, which is basically people who reign in her stead since she wasn't capable of doing it by herself. So the first regent up, it was actually kind of a toss-up between two guys. It was the Catholic Cardinal Beaton and the other one after Mary, who was in line for the throne. So it was like if Mary wasn't born, he would be the next in line. His name was James Hamilton, the second Earl of Arran. The cardinal claimed that it was in the king's will to make him regent, but their will was in question, and was regarded as like forged, basically. And the regency went to James Hamilton. It's worth mentioning as well. Like there's a lot. This will play a lot during the story as well. But Scotland was predominantly Catholic at the time as well.
Okay.
And there was like a fight between like Protestantism and Catholicism. So James Hamilton, he was like a Protestant. He favored Protestantism. Anyway, like I said, it's going to feature a lot throughout the story.
Sure.
King Henry VIII saw the regency as an opportunity to unite England. So King Henry VIII, that was King of England. He saw this as an opportunity to unite England and Scotland and propose an engagement between his son Edward and Mary. On the 1st of July, Mary being 6 months old, the Treaty of Greenwich was signed, which promised that Mary would marry Edward when she turned 10 years old, move to England, and King Henry would raise her. Because King Henry VIII, I didn't mention this, but King Henry was her great uncle. So, like, it's weird how this worked.
So she's now in an arranged marriage with her cousin?
Yeah. So, Mary, her grandmother, whose name was Margaret Tudor, she was the older sibling of Henry. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But yes, that's what happened. So more points in the treaty included that England and Scotland would also remain legally separate. So there'd be like two separate countries and doing their own thing and all that stuff. And that if the two should fail to produce offspring, so Mary and Henry's son, the temporary union would be dissolved. Then comes back this cardinal dude, of whom Henry's opinion was not great because he was very pro-French. And this was like what England and Scotland were basically fighting over Scotland.
Right.
Hold on. England and France. Is that what I said?
England and France. You said England and Scotland.
England and France were fighting over Scotland.
Okay.
That is pretty much what it was. So yeah, Henry was trying to get rid of this Scot-French alliance. All right. So this cardinal guy, Cardinal Beaton, he wasn't comfortable with the young queen being like taken away. So he insisted that that she go to Stirling Castle, where she would be safer.
Okay.
It autocorrected to Stifling, but it's Stirling Castle. So James Hamilton, this regent guy, he was initially against this move, but once he saw that the cardinal had more armed supporters than he did, he just gave in. He's like, sure, whatever.
He's like, listen, I don't want to mess with your people, with your guys.
Right. At Stirling Castle, Mary was coronated in the chapel on the 9th of September, 1543.
Okay.
Before the coronation, though, King Henry over in England arrested some Scottish merchants, which kind of caused some contention, like even more contention than they already had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah, that he arrested these guys, he impounded their goods and stuff like that. So the Scots were upset. James ended up joining forces with the cardinal, and the treaty was eventually rejected by the Scottish Parliament. That treaty that was talking about like Mary marrying the king's son.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Okay,
so they're like,
good.
no, we're not going to go with this.
That's good news.
Yes.
Because you know how I feel about that kind of stuff.
I do know how you feel about that stuff.
Even though this was the 1500s.
Yep.
Okay, but quick little question tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Life expectancy back then, do we know?
I didn't look it up. Do you want me to look it up real quick?
Well, it's probably like, what, 30?
A little bit more than that. I'd probably say like 60.
But I was like, 10 is so young. And I understand that quote unquote times were different, but people have to understand like this is a child and
You were right. About 35.
okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Average life expectancy. 1670 is considered old age. But yeah, average life expectancy was about 35 to 40 years old.
I just don't know how you can look at a child and be like, yep, you should go get married.
Yeah, me neither. It still happens today in some cultures.
I know, I hate it.
Yeah. There was one point in Bulgaria where we were walking in the Makhala, which is like the Bulgarian ghetto where all like the Roman people live. And there was like a wedding going on, and these kids were like 15 and 12 years old or something like that. I don't know the exact ages, but it was like very.
And you were there like in person.
Yeah. And we weren't a part of the wedding. We were just like walking by, and these guys were having like a parade. There was a young girl in a white dress and like a high school kid, maybe middle school.
It makes me so sad.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, moving on with the story. So Henry was stubborn, and he wasn't ready to give up this whole marriage alliance thing.
Okay.
So there were other factors contributing to the next part of the story. So like the Scottish-French alliance, they attempted to... he was like trying to attack their alliance basically and like weaken Scotland. And it ultimately led to the Rough Wooing, which is an 8 years war that happened. And during that whole time, the Scots had Mary on the run, and they were like struggling the entire time during this whole 8 years with this war, quote unquote war, with England. But yeah, they would take Mary from place to place for her protection along with her mother.
Okay.
In May 1546, Cardinal Beaton was murdered by Protestant lairds. In early 1547, King Henry VIII died, leaving his son Edward, who was age 9, to take the throne. But since he was still young, the Duke of Somerset took over the war affairs and oversaw the Battle of Pinkie. Right? Which that one was like one of the like the major losses for Scotland. I wonder if that's a typo. I don't remember Battle of Pinkie.
Like a place?
Yes.
Okay. That reminds me of Ratatouille. I killed a man.
With this thumb.
Yes.
Now let me look that up real quick. Yeah, Battle of Pinkie. Sure enough.
Interesting.
I thought that might have been a typo, but no. So after the loss at the Battle of Pinkie, it's in there again, so it's not a typo. Scotland turned to France for help, to which the French replied with a proposal for union by way of marriage between Little Mary and King Henry II of France's son, Dauphin Francis.
Why is marriage like? Can't they just be like, "Hey, we're good"? Like, let's just shake hands. Why do they have to like solidify it with a marriage?
Because it's political as well.
That's so dumb.
The whole thing is political, and so they have two people from two countries, and it's like an alliance.
Imagine if that happened today, but like in America, so like our presidential candidates, so it's like Biden and Trump being like, my daughter can marry your son, and like Trump and Biden's like, you're what? Yeah, I have a daughter somewhere. Sorry, probably shouldn't make it.
Everyone does it.
How was my impression?
It was spot on.
Don't cover me, please.
I might. Just kidding. So this new deal between the French and the Scottish included help from the French for future battles that Scotland would be part of. And also James Hamilton, who was the regent, he would get his own dukedom of his own in France.
A dukedom?
Yeah. Kind of like a kingdom, but kind of like a duchy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense now that you've explained it, but like...
Yeah. A dukedom. It doesn't.
I wish we still talked like this. Like, come on.
I hope we didn't.
No, it's fun.
Anyway, so James agreed to this deal. So this whole rough wooing that I mentioned, the 8-year war, it was pretty rough for the Scots. I already kind of mentioned that a little bit. They struggled the whole time. And there's a lot of political stuff that happened during that time, during that whole war. a lot of like geographical stuff that if you know Scotland, it probably makes sense. Didn't make sense to me because I don't know Scotland that well. You would. You've been there once. Just kidding.
Yep, I'm an expert.
But yeah, anyway, it's just a lot of that stuff. So we're going to skip forward a little bit to August 1548. So now Mary is 5 years old, and she was sent over to France due to their little deal that they had. So she, she's going over to France, and she brought her own little like posse along, so to say. So this included 2 illegitimate brothers of hers and the 4 Marys, quote unquote.
The 4 Marys.
Which comprised of, you guessed it, 4 Marys.
Was one of them her mom?
No.
She's 5. She needs her mommy.
No. Actually, she wasn't one of the 4 Marys, but she was there. She did go along with her.
Her mom was there?
Her mom was there.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So yeah, she, it's just this like group of 4 girls that are all named Mary. Okay. So Mary's grandmother went, maybe it was Mary's grandmother, not her mother. Mary's grandmother went with her and acted as one of her principal advisors and was a major influence on Mary's childhood.
Nice.
So in the end of the rough wooing, this was in 1549, the Duke of Somerset, who was like the regent or the one who was like acting king, so to say, in England, since the son of the king was too young, Edward. So he was replaced by the Duke of Northumberland, who thought that spending money on war was dumb, and that that just ended the Anglo-Scottish feud. And that was like the end of the war.
He was just like, "This is stupid," and everyone's like, "You know what?
You're right.
You got a point, actually."
Right.
They just needed someone to call them out. Like, my gosh, that's so stupid.
Right. Anyway. Mary was noted, even from a young age, to be vivacious, beautiful, and clever. In the French court, Mary was a favorite to many, but one particular member of the court was her, her to-be mother-in-law.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. That was Catherine de Medici. It's Italian. Medici, I think it is. So she was the wife of Henry II, who was the king of France at the time. So she was like not the hugest fan of Mary, but it was whatever.
Oh, I thought you were saying that she was like one of the ones that liked her the most.
No. She was just like, yeah, you're just another girl.
You're just another 5-year-old running around my palace.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But anyway, Mary became really good friends with her future sister-in-law, Elizabeth of Valois.
Okay.
Mary was quick to learn certain instruments, such as the lute and virginals, which is kind of like a mini harpsichord.
Okay.
As well as languages like French, Italian, Latin, Spanish, and Greek. She was also adept in activities like prose, poetry, horsemanship, falconry, and needlework. So, pays to be a princess, I guess.
You know what? I can top her, though. I frequently do marathons on Netflix. I have seen New Girl four times start to finish. Can she do that? Do that. She can. Can she say that she's done that? No.
No, she cannot.
It's fine. It's fine. I can eat half a pizza by myself.
That was one time we ate like 2 full large pizzas together.
And I was pregnant.
Yeah. I wasn't. I still didn't.
No, that's actually really impressive, though, that she did all that. It's always like impressive to me when these people have more than one language. Like, obviously, bilingual? When you have 2 languages?
2 languages, yeah.
Obviously, that's impressive on its own, but when you have like the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th language, it's like, when do you sleep? Because that's impressive.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I mean, she was a princess, and like the whole thing about being a princess is being eloquent, and etiquette, royal, all that stuff. So like you're supposed to,
super smart.
You're expected to know, maybe not all those things, but especially those very important languages for like
Mhm.
political reasons.
Yeah.
Greek and Latin and stuff like that for, obviously educational and scholarship reasons. So anyway, as mentioned, Mary was a very beautiful young lady, and she aged really well according to history. So portraits show that she had a small oval-shaped head, a long graceful neck, bright auburn hair, hazel brown eyes under heavy lowered eyelids and finely arched brows, smooth pale skin, a high forehead, and regular firm features, which we can all kind of insinuate what that means. But this is Mary. I'll put a picture on the video, but that's Mary. Isn't she pretty? It's just a painting.
Sure. Wow, how our beauty standards changed. My goodness. She's beautiful.
Yeah, red hair is no longer considered beautiful.
It totally is.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I was like, our girls have red hair.
Yeah, we
I'm
have two
going to
beautiful
fight
girls.
you.
She was also tall by her time standards. She reached 5 feet 11 in adulthood, which is taller than me.
That is tall. For a woman, that's pretty tall.
Yeah, it is.
It's taller than you, is that what you said?
Yeah, by an inch. I'm 5'10".
Womp womp.
Womp womp. Is an inch a lot? Just kidding. As a child, she contracted smallpox, but it was said not to affect her appearance at all. So props to her. So there's a lot more politics in the next part of the story. Basically, what happened? The Queen of England, Mary I.
Sorry, I'm still.
What?
I'm still stuck on that joke that we just slid by. It's fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
I'm 4 years old. No, I'm not. 4-year-olds don't joke like that. I'm 13 years old and a boy, apparently.
We knew that already.
You can continue.
Thank you. So the Queen of England, Mary I, she died, and she left her sister Elizabeth I to succeed her. But many people believe that Mary was the rightful heir to England because she was a more direct descendant of the royalty line. Because, as mentioned, so like her grandmother, Margaret Tudor, she was the sister of Henry VIII. And so that means like her great grandfather was the king. Right. And I don't know I can't remember exactly where Elizabeth sits in this situation, but Mary had more of a like direct line. And so people are saying like, Mary should do this and whatever. The King of France, Henry II, he was even, he proclaimed his son, Francis and Mary, as the King and Queen of England. Blah, blah, blah. A lot of stuff, a lot of politics behind that. End of the story, end of that part is Elizabeth first ended up being the queen. So
rude. Does she speak 7 languages?
I don't know.
Has she been
there's a lot on Elizabeth out there on the web too. So she's another interesting person.
Okay, fine.
And she makes a lot of like appearances in this story too. So
yeah.
So King Henry II, he also died. This was due to injuries from jousting, which left Francis, so Mary's husband, and Mary as the King and Queen of France. Francis was 15, Mary was 16. Also, I'll mention this as well. I don't think I did, but Mary and Elizabeth are like cousins somehow. Did I mention that? I don't remember if I mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of related.
Yeah.
I kind of assumed.
Cool, yeah. So Mary and Elizabeth are some kind of cousins. As mentioned before, there was a little bit of a feud between Catholics and Protestants. So Protestantism, it was still trying to like gain power over the Catholic dominated Scotland. Mary's mother was like on the defensive side. They were very devout Catholics and everything.
Right.
But the French were also fending off their own Protestant advances. So like they couldn't go in and like help them out with the fighting off of Protestantism and stuff like that.
Okay.
So again, more politics and religion and stuff. But basically after all this religion, that kind of back and forth, the relationship between France and Scotland was kind of up for questioning, just like up in the air.
Sure.
A treaty was signed saying the English and French would withdraw their troops from Scotland, but Mary's mother recently passed away, so like Mary was grieving her loss, so she didn't really pay attention to that treaty and what was going on there.
Okay.
Mary's husband, King Francis II, also died soon after on the 5th of December, 1560, from an ear infection that led to an abscess in his brain. So his younger brother Charles IX inherited the French throne. Mary returned to England 9 months after Francis's death, but things were a mess in Scotland since like the time that Mary was living in France, and this was for like 12 years that she was there. Protestantism had become more prevalent, and since Mary was a devout Catholic, her position was questioned by many of her subjects.
Okay.
Stuff like this is things that Mary did. She would dress elaborately, which like fancy clothes, stuff like that. She would dance, just having fun.
Oh man!
And she attended mass and like other things. So like people were just like, why are you doing this? You're a queen.
How dare you
you
have fun with your 30-year life?
Exactly. So there was a big division between the Catholics and the Protestants, adding to the mess that Mary had to, kind of deal with while she was in Scotland. The Scottish Council was also dominated by Protestant leaders, and Mary just kind of like, just tolerated it. It's like, Protestants can be leaders too. So this made her Catholic subjects also kind of mad. So like she has, on one hand, the Protestants not supporting her because she's Catholic, but on the other hand, the Catholics because it seems like she's supporting the Protestants. So like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's like she can't really win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But Mary had a plan for all this. For like, not all this, but like
Mary's
had a plan.
Smart.
Yeah,
she's big brain.
Mary had a plan. Her end goal was the throne in England. And I'll mention this as well. England at the time, at least from the sounds of the story, was mostly Protestant. Yeah. So like, that was also kind of a huge deal.
Okay.
Where was I? Oh yeah, Mary had a plan. So her end goal was a throne in England, hence being more lenient towards the Protestant leaders, since they were from England. Mary sent an ambassador to the English court to basically make a case for her as like the heir presumptive of England.
Okay.
Though she wouldn't admit it publicly, Queen Elizabeth did tell Mary's ambassador that, like, there's no one better. There's no one that has a better claim to the throne than Mary. So
button her up.
Yeah. So Elizabeth is basically like, yeah, I agree. Like Mary should be queen. Because again, she was a direct descendant of Henry VII.
Right.
So with her vision in mind, Mary started looking for a new husband. Her criteria: European royalty.
Which is a very specific line. Do you think they have like a European royalty Tinder? Like specific? Because they have like celebrity things, right? Like they have like apps for celebrities to do Tinder things, but only with celebrities.
I did not know that, but sure.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, I know this is the 1500s, but like that would be so funny. Like, third cousin, nah. Ooh, first cousin twice removed? Sure, yeah, I'll go on a date with him. Because obviously, right. Like, they're still related, usually.
Somehow, yeah. So, while this search was going on, a French poet in Mary's court named Pierre heard of her singleness and desire to marry.
He heard of it on royalsinglesonly.com.
Yeah, he wasn't royalty. He was just like a poet in her court. So like he's just kind of there.
Okay.
Writing poetry. So Pierre began to pursue Mary romantically in his own way by hiding under her bed.
Oh my gosh.
His plan was to wait there until Mary was alone and he would jump out and profess his love to her.
Because that works. I wonder if that's like his MO, like his thing.
Yeah, maybe it's the poetry background.
Two times out of three, or
Naked Man. It's a Hymnian reference for those of you who don't understand.
How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, How I Met Your Mother. Thank you. But I mean, like, maybe it is his poetry background, but like he gets women. He knows what women want.
A creeper underneath your bed.
Because so get this. I mean, it's every woman's fantasy to have like some guy that doesn't meet your criteria to like hide in your bedroom and then like It's your place of
Yeah,
sanctuary,
yeah. I
place of
mean,
privacy.
I'm glad someone said it. I didn't want to admit it myself because it's just kind of it's embarrassing.
Pierre knows how it's
But
done, guys.
yeah, like Pierre, he's got it figured out. Like, oh man, Mary.
I mean, that's the dream. And like any girl playing hard to get, she was horrified and banished Pierre from Scotland. But Pierre, in his ever
From the
impressive
entire country.
from the entire country, yeah. Be right back.
Having a little intermission for a sec, because parenting comes first. Just gotta make sure the girls are okay. I got moves.
Were you talking about me?
No,
Okay.
I was showing off my dance moves.
Dab. Okay, where were we? Pierre.
She's playing hard to get, and she banished him
Yes.
from the country.
So
I genuinely, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was actually gonna be like a cute little love story that I was just like dogging on. Nope.
Nope. It's a creeper story.
Nope. He missed the mark quite a bit.
I don't know what you're talking. No, he was spot on.
She
This
was
is
just playing hard
exactly
to
what
get.
women
she
want.
was just she just needs to chill. Like,
Yeah.
just
Just let it happen.
beggars
So-
can be choosers or whatever. Sorry, okay.
So Pierre, in his ever impressive, infinite understanding of the woman's brain, knew better and ignored the edict and
It just-
returned 2 days later.
Keeps getting better. Okay.
He burst into her room as she was undressing, and like any girl playing hard to get, she reacted with fury and fear, cried out for help. Well, but she restrained him first. She like overpowered him and restrained him. Cried out for help, and then her half brother, whose name was Moray, he came in, and Mary shouted for him to, quote, thrust your dagger into the villain, unquote. All to hide her interest in Pierre. Moray refused to kill Pierre since he was already apprehended. Pierre was imprisoned, tried for treason, and beheaded. As you would do for any guy that's showing interest.
Is this like the first like documented case of legitimate stalking?
Probably not.
Like
But it's
celebrity
there. It's pretty
status
early.
stalking.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Because, like, I mean, you can consider royalty like celebrity status,
Yeah.
you know? And that's like a whole thing. Like, we could tell so many stories about people who, like, celebrities who have been stalked and, like, killed by their stalkers and like, things like that. That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, this is probably one of the earliest cases, like, documented of a celebrity-esque type person or royal type person, obviously, being stalked to that degree. That's so scary.
I mean, I'm sure there were more. I'm sure, like,
Well, that's not
Cleopatra
saying, like,
had her
documented.
admirers.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Look into
He's
it.
beheaded.
Because, like, even though the 1500s were, it seems like a long time ago. It's only 500 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's
Moving
so crazy.
so that doesn't really have anything to do with the story. It's just kind of funny what happened, minus the beheading, because execution isn't too funny. Where were we?
He was beheaded.
He was beheaded. Cool. So, yeah, in reality, obviously, Mary was, like, disgusted by this guy.
Oh, yeah. I didn't actually think
yeah.
that she was.
I was trying to make it, like, joking, so.
I caught on.
Yeah,
We're good.
Thank you. Just to, like, clarify in case anyone doesn't understand our humor.
Someone's going to watch this podcast and be like, what is wrong with these two people? Like,
I'm pretty sure all of our listeners
blink if
say
you
that.
need help. Dang it. I blinked. Okay. I'm good. I'm good.
Cool. Okay. So then comes along, so after Pierre and all that stuff, here comes along this half cousin dude that Mary met briefly. So he and Mary are half cousins. They met briefly while Mary was mourning her late husband's death. This guy, his name is Henry Stewart, Lord Darnley.
How do you be a half cousin?
So you share one grandparent. So, like, say, especially during this time, it wasn't uncommon for kings to have illegitimate children, right?
Uh-huh.
With, like, other women. So, like, he's married to one person, or, like, one woman. They have, like, their own little family tree. But then They like have another child in that family tree, and then like they share
Oh.
that grandparent, but that's
But
all.
not a set.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm on board.
Cool. So yeah, their shared grandparent was Margaret Tudor,
Okay.
who was again elder sister of Henry VIII.
Hmm.
Henry VIII. So his parents, so his name was Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. A lot of these times, like when they say Lord, I think it like refers to like their land or their estate or something like that. Because it's like it's not Lord Stuart. His name isn't Lord Stuart. They call him Lord Darnley. Anyway,
So
politics.
you would be Lord Apartment B.
That's right. So Henry's parents, they were Scottish aristocrats and English landowners. So not a bad deal for a guy who's related. I'm just kidding. So
Yeah.
Mary soon fell for the quote unquote long lad, called so because he was over 6 feet tall.
Hey, that's good for a girl who's 5'11".
Yeah, it's what you want when you're that tall.
Yeah.
You want someone even taller.
Not that I would know, because I'm not that tall.
Yeah, get in your 5'6" corner.
Yep.
Just kidding. So they married on 29th of July, 1565, which was 4 years after Francis's death. So she gave time for mourning. So despite feelings in marriage, however, Mary was still aiming for the English throne. And this Henry lad, he was, being a descendant of royalty as well. He made Mary kind of feel threatened towards her goal because he's like, if I'm eligible for this, he is too. So, it's kind of too bad that she only realized this after their weird marriage.
So wait. So like she's competing for the throne against her own husband?
Not competing, but that was like a worry for her. She was like worried that he would, like, after they married and he had this kind of royalty status as, King of Scotland, he would also have like a more of a chance to get that.
I see.
And she didn't want him to like pursue that.
Because, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the marriage made Elizabeth mad because, not only were they cousins, but Henry was an English subject. And the marriage should have been approved by her, by Elizabeth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Queen of England is like, you should have told me about this. He's my subject. Why are you doing this? Anyway, stuff like that.
Okay.
So the marriage also led to a Scottish rebellion from the Protestant lords, which included her Mary's half brother Moray, the one who like refused to kill the stalker guy.
Okay.
So there were a few combatless battles that were unsuccessful on their end, like on the Protestants' end, and they called this little spat the Chase-About raids. This is kind of funny. Moray, meaning because like they would like. They basically like toured the country and had like little verbal arguments almost. So Chase-About raids is what they were called. So Moray ended up leaving to England. Darnley, so this is Henry, Lord Darnley, Mary's husband. He got to a point where he was unsatisfied in his position. He was kind of getting like a little arrogant, a little proud of being in this position. And but what he was king consort, not king, but like king consort, which is like, you're married to a queen, but you can't do any rule. But what he was wanting, he was wanting to be like a co-sovereign with Mary, so they would rule the country together. So basically, he proposed what's called a crown matrimonial, which would mean like they would be co-sovereigns, and that if he outlived Mary, then he would assume the throne, like take over rule and all that stuff.
Sure.
People were against this. Mary conceived by October 1565, but Darnley was suspicious of a friend of Mary's, David Rizzio, who was her Catholic private secretary, and he suspected the child to be David's.
This is all a little messy.
Yeah.
This
is what?
This is what happens when you don't have your own version of like reality TV. You just create it in your own life.
The OG reality TV.
People ask me why I like trash TV. I'm like, because it reminds me that my life is good. I don't need this drama in my life.
I agree. Thank you for not being dramatic.
Kim, there are people dying.
My earring.
Thank you for getting that reference.
I
You've been married for
hate everything. So, by March 1566, behind Mary's back, Darnley conspired with the Protestant lords, as well as those involved with the opposing side in the chase about raids, to kill David. So they stabbed him during a dinner party right in front of Mary.
Is he innocent though? Like, do we ever find that out?
Just wait.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, in a second, actually. So Darnley was quick to regret this, and he switched sides back to Mary's. But the other conspirators wanted to pursue Mary as well. So Darnley and Mary, they both escaped the palace. They just ran away. So Mary's and Darnley's son was born on June 19th, 1566. So yes, it wasn't David's. Mary didn't have an affair with this David guy.
But do we know that?
I don't know. It wasn't documented, so I'm guessing.
I am so sorry. I've been going on so many tangents this episode. I just am curious, how many people have completely opposite bloodlines than they ever actually realized because people didn't fess up to it.
Yeah.
And we didn't have DNA testing back then.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably happened a lot.
So it's I am descendant of so and so, blah 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 blah. It's psych.
But are you really?
Your great 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 grandma slept with the broom guy.
The broom guy.
I don't know. They have a guy for everything.
The broom guy. I love it.
It's how do you feel about that? You're a broom guy descendant.
Back then, it wasn't the mailman. It was the broom guy. It wasn't the milkman. It was the broom guy.
The broom guy. But truly though, because there's you hear so many stories about people who have affairs and then never ever confess to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And in these cases, it is buried with them.
Yep. Because again, they didn't have DNA stuff. So, yep, the son was born. Also, the
medieval. Sorry, medieval reality TV. I don't know. There's no way else.
I think we have our title.
Medieval reality TV. Sorry, I keep interrupting. You keep going.
No, you're okay. So their son, so it's Mary's and Darnley's, born June 19th, 1566. His name was James. Since the incident with David's death, their marriage was kind of in decline.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you killed my friend.
You killed my secret lover.
Yep. The Protestant conspirators were still trying to sabotage Mary and her reign and started to spread rumors of an affair and other stuff.
Was it them that started it, though, or her actual husband?
It was
That's
them.
what I want to know.
It was them that spread it because, beyond her husband, it didn't really get out.
Sure. Okay.
But then, the Protestants were well, we're going to just use this against her.
Sure. Okay.
So, anyway, she's just in this, huge mess at the moment.
Yeah.
Later in the year, Mary fell ill. Her symptoms included frequent vomiting, loss of sight, loss of speech, convulsions, and unconsciousness. So, it sounds pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
People thought that she was dying, but on 25th of October, she made full recovery thanks to French physicians. I nailed it.
Was one of them named Carlisle Cullen?
Well, how old is he?
I think he was around the 1500s.
Yeah, maybe then.
She's a vampire. Sorry.
That explains the pale skin. Or, she has red hair. I get that.
She's already soulless, so it doesn't really matter.
Fair point. So Mary held a meeting with the leading nobles to discuss Darnley, and apparently during this meeting, divorce was brought up. Darnley started to fear for his safety, thinking that they were out to get him. So he traveled to one of his father's estates. He ended up getting sick, but it wasn't. But where'd that go? People witnessed Mary visiting him daily, so they were kind of thinking that they're making up, reconciling some things. On February 9th through the 10th, Mary went to visit her husband as well as attend a wedding ceremony of a member of her household.
Okay.
And then early the next morning, an explosion was heard and Darnley was found dead. People naturally suspected Mary, but also Moray, her half-brother, a few others, including James Hepburn, who was the 4th Earl of Bothwell. Mary basically said, I know how this might look, but please don't think that I would even think of doing this. Like, don't even have that idea that I would do this.
Okay.
James Hepburn was the most suspect, and he was tried, but he was like shortly acquitted because they didn't have enough evidence against him. Then, with Darnley out of the way, James, this Earl guy, made his move. He convinced more than 24 lords and bishops to sign the what's called the Ainsley Tavern Bond, which basically outlines like a deal, well, kind of a deal, that he would marry the Queen.
Why?
I don't know. But get this as well. Like, he was, at the time of this meeting that he had to convince these people to let him marry the Queen, he was already married. He somehow convinced these people. I don't know how. He must have like hell of, convincing skills and whatever. But anyway, so that's what's happening.
Men.
Men. Just go with Pierre. I'm just kidding. So in April 1567, Mary went to visit her son at Stirling Castle, and on her way back to Edinburgh, April 24th, Mary was abducted by James and his men, and they took her to Dunbar Castle. It's also possible while they were there, more heinous acts were committed, but we don't have to talk about that. On May 6th, Mary and James went back to Edinburgh and were married on May 15th according to Protestant rites, which I don't know what those entail, but they somehow were married. And before this as well, like I did mention he was married, he divorced 12 days prior to him and Mary getting married.
Oh, what an honorable man.
12 days. Enough time to grieve a divorce. At first, Mary thought that this marriage was supported by the nobles, but a lot of them considered this divorce invalid and the marriage unlawful. So Protestants and Catholics alike, they found it kind of odd that Mary married the man who was accused of killing her husband, who was like the prime suspect of it.
Yeah, but I don't know, I'm kind of getting the vibe that she wasn't really doing it willingly.
Yeah, not really. It was all like political as well, so she didn't really like have a huge say in it. It was mainly like the what do you call them? Just like the nobles and
like
officials.
They weren't running off because they were so in love. It was like, no,
it's political.
Yeah.
So 26 Scottish peers, known as the Confederate Lords, started an army and turned against Mary and James. The newlywed couple met this group with no huge army themselves and negotiated, so no battle took place. James was granted safe passage away, but Mary was taken to Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Many of her followers denounced her, calling her an adulteress and a murderer. She was imprisoned the next day at Lochleven Castle, located towards the north of the island.
Why was
Scottish
she
island.
In prison?
Just because she, well, for one, she was like one of the suspects of her husband's murder. And also people were just like, she just wasn't, in their eyes, for like what had been happening. They considered her an adulteress, basically like a traitor to her religion, that kind of stuff.
Was that stuff illegal back then?
Not really, but enough for them to imprison her, sadly enough.
Okay.
In July, Mary miscarried twins and was forced to abdicate in favor of her 1-year-old son, which made James, her son, James IV, king, and Moray the regent, since James was still an infant. So her half brother is now the regent.
Yeah.
Who was like, also commonly on her, like against her.
Right.
On May 2nd, 1568, Mary managed to escape prison with the help of George Douglas, brother of Sir William Douglas, who was the owner of the castle that they kept her in. They managed to raise an army of 6,000, which was superior in number to Moray's army, but both sides, they battled on May 13th at the what's called the Battle of Langside. Mary was, hold on. So sadly, Mary's side lost, and Mary had to kind of run for it. She fled south and eventually made it to England, where they offered her refuge. Mary was also expecting Elizabeth to help her regain her throne in Scotland, but naturally Elizabeth had some reservations on basically trusting Mary with everything that she heard of what transpired. Yeah. So she ordered an inquiry into the Confederate lord's conduct and also Mary, if Mary was like her husband's killer and stuff like that. So Mary still had supporters, and the civil war occurred in Scotland during this inquiry. And this, I'm saying the word inquiry a lot, but this inquiry, it was held at a place called York. Mary herself did not attend, but she had representatives go for her. Moray was also summoned to plead his case. He brought forth what is known as the casket letters, which included 8 unsigned letters purportedly between Mary and James Hepburn prior to her husband's death. So these letters included 2 marriage contracts and some love sonnets.
Oh.
Now, the letters sounded pretty harmless, but apparently it was supposed to like prove guilt into her husband's death and everything, like a plot against him almost.
Sure.
Mary denied writing them and said her handwriting was not difficult to mimic, so really anyone could have done it. And it stands, as it stands now, it's inconclusive whether or not these letters were actually legit and if she did commit this murder. It's also, like, right now it's impossible to find out. Just, like, the letters were lost and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of controversy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth concluded this inquiry with a very neutral conclusion. Nothing was like proven against or for Mary in that matter, and also the Confederate lords. She didn't want to like convict or acquit Mary. So basically, it's just like, tell me what happened. Okay, cool. Now go away.
Right.
That's kind of like the gist that I got from it.
Sure.
In the end, Moray went back to Scotland to continue his regency, and Mary was kept in England in captivity. So again, like nothing happened like at all. They went to the exact same kind of situation they were in before the inquiry.
Makes me kind of annoyed for her though, because it's just like,
I know when nearing the
girl
end,
doesn't get a break.
Yeah, no, she really doesn't. From here, like to the end of the story, she really doesn't. Kind of spoiler alert again. Where'd I go? Blah blah blah. So, yeah, nothing happened. So they came out of the inquiry. I just mentioned that. Elizabeth was well aware of Mary's mission to take over the throne of England. And I'm sure that kind of like contributed to her reason to put her back into captivity.
Mm-hmm.
But they made sure that Mary was comfortable where she was at. You know, they had all of her belongings shipped over to her. They gave her domestic staff, which was numbered no less than 16. That was the minimum number of staff that she had attending to her.
She's in prison with the full staff.
Yep, exactly. And they also pimped out her chambers. They gave her like decorations, you know, laced sheets and stuff like that.
Wow.
Just everything. She was like,
how do I sign up for that kind of imprisonment?
Right. I have in here, it was pretty much like a luxurious retirement.
Yeah.
Even though it was like captivity, but that's just kind of what it is because she doesn't have her responsibility of her country. She's just kind of like living. And like they let her out too. They weren't like keeping her in the chambers. She would go out every now and then. But anyway, in May 1569, Elizabeth made an attempt to restore Mary to the throne on the grounds that the Protestant religion remained like dominant and everything. But that was rejected. In early 1570, Moray was assassinated. So that goes out of the picture now. There was a conspiracy happening as well in the background to replace Elizabeth with Mary. That whole thing was kind of found out. There were many like marriage arrangements attempted as well, but none came to pass. Just like a lot of things that happened in between, like while Mary was, you know, captivated.
Right. A lot of deals that fell through is what it sounds like.
Exactly. In 1584, Mary tried to conform to the English and everything. She proposed an association with her son, James, and she was also a lot more submissive to what the English were proposing. She even renounced her desire for the throne as well. She even offered to join an offensive league against France, which, if you remember, Scotland and France had like that long-lasting alliance and everything. But yeah, she was just like a lot more agreeable with Elizabeth. She proposed general amnesty for Scotland and agreed that when James married, Elizabeth should be aware and aware of the marriage and accepted the grounds on keeping Protestantism in Scotland. Her only condition was that she would be freed from captivity. James at first was on board with this plan, but he changed his mind and he signed an alliance treaty with Elizabeth. Elizabeth was also...
Like the son?
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, so Mary's son is basically like, no, I want to side with your cousin.
Yeah, you can stay imprisoned, old hag.
Yep, that's kind of like the vibe that I get from it. Elizabeth was also against the idea, but that's because she still thought that even though Mary was a lot more submissive and agreeable, that she was still kind of like plotting something against her.
Okay.
But Elizabeth was right to be wary of Mary. Wary of Mary.
What is about to happen?
All this time, Mary's letters that she was writing were being intercepted by Elizabeth's secretary, Sir Francis Walsingham. Francis intercepted, decrypted, and read the letters, which eventually proved Mary had sanctioned an assassination attempt on Elizabeth. Mary was put on trial for treason, and she denied all charges. Her protests during the trial included being denied the opportunity to review the evidence against her. Her papers were removed from her, like the letters she was writing, and she was denied legal counsel. And finally, as a foreign anointed queen, she was not an English subject and therefore like incapable of being like, tried for treason. Well, tried for treason.
Oh.
Because she wasn't an English subject, so she can't commit treason against a country that isn't hers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was convicted and sentenced to death on October 25th, 1586. Elizabeth was hesitant with this sentence. She was afraid of the repercussions of killing a queen, particularly if James, somewhere down the line, ended up forming an alliance with Catholic powers and invade England. On February 7th, 1587, the day before her set execution date, Mary spent most of her day in prayer, settling loose ends, like, distributing her stuff, her belongings to household members, writing her will, and then writing a letter to the King of France, which I don't know what was written in there, but there's a letter to the King of France. So the day of execution. At this time as well, prior to an execution, it was common practice for the executioner and his assistant to ask the the convicted person for forgiveness. Oh. So they both asked her for forgiveness, and Mary replied with this quote, "I forgive you with all my heart. For now, I hope you shall make an end of all my troubles," unquote. So she's just
just get it over with.
Basically, but she's like, this is no fault to you. Maybe all this drama will end when I'm dead. A couple of Mary's servants helped her disrobe, and Mary was kind of trying to be lighthearted, joking around, and she said, quote, "Never had such grooms before, ever put off her clothes before such a company," unquote. She's like, "Oh, no man's done this to me publicly. This is exciting." Kind of like trying to make it light.
Right.
Out of the situation. As she knelt down and positioned her head, she uttered her last words, "In manus tuas, Domine, commendo spiritum meum," which is Latin for "Into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit." So this next part, cover your ears if you're squeamish. It took a couple of strikes for the blade to actually go all the way through. The first time it missed her neck completely, which I kind of wondered how that's possible because she was had a long neck. That's how she was described. So it hit her in the back of the head. The second time, it severed the neck, but a bit of sinew was kind of still hanging on there. So the executioner took an axe and just finished the job. He picked up the head and held it for everyone to see and exclaimed, "God save the Queen." And at that moment, the head in his hand became lighter. He examined what he was holding and found just her hair remained. Her head fell to the floor and revealed short, grey hair in place of her bright auburn hair.
So she was wearing a wig?
Yeah, she was wearing a wig the whole time. If you remember earlier when I kind of mentioned, well, not really freaking out, but I was surprised at a point in the story. Yeah. This was it. I was like, no way. Anyway, so yeah, she was wearing a wig. When word of Mary's execution reached Elizabeth, she told the Privy Councillor William Davidson, to whom she gave the death warrant, signed and everything. She signed the death warrant, gave it to this guy, um, that he acted without her authority.
Boy.
But Elizabeth, she intentionally gave like vague instructions and all that stuff just to kind of like shift the blame away from her because she didn't want Mary's blood on her hands.
I'm
So
not telling you to kill her, but
yeah, I mean, she felt guilty about the whole thing, but again, she was like a competitor for the throne.
yeah,
So like, yeah. Anyway,
it's all about
so
the status.
exactly. So this Privy Councillor Davison, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, but was released 19 months later. He was in prison because Elizabeth was like, "You didn't do what I told you. Go to jail,
Right,
whatever."
yeah.
Mary had requested to be buried in France, but Elizabeth refused and had her body embalmed and buried in a Protestant service, which I feel is kind of like a slap in the face to
Yeah, it's
Mary.
like she's already dead. Just do what she wants.
Yeah,
Come
exactly.
on.
Yeah, I know. James, Mary's son, in 1612 had her body exhumed and moved to Westminster Abbey, which was kind of funny. It was like across the way from Elizabeth's grave site, or
Okay.
where she was buried, her coffin. Kind of funny. Mary was constantly villainized by Protestant reformists, whereas, on the other hand, she was praised, defended, and eulogized by Catholic apologists. Many histories have since argued on the validity of the casket letters, and as well as her character and behavior. Her behavior on the day of her execution helped establish her popular image as the heroic victim in a dramatic tragedy. And that's the story of Mary, Queen of Scots, the medieval reality TV.
That was a trip and a half.
Yeah.
There was not a single moment during that I could have actually predicted what was happening or what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
Like getting the throne at 6 days old, and then getting an arranged marriage, and then not, and then having a stalker, and then like getting married, and then having maybe an affair. Like, I seriously was like, I don't.
Yep.
And then the murder of her husband, and like, did she do it? Like, this is what I want to know: is she just like this poor girl getting strung along by all these really unfortunate scenarios, or is she actually just an evil mastermind who probably deserved to be killed?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why she's so cheery on her deathbed. She's like, meh, I played Jaw long enough. Go ahead and just take it off. And then the wig, like...
Yeah, the wig blew my mind. That was really funny because it's like part of her whole persona and like just who she was.
A lot of it
was red hair. But then like it was a wig. She had gray hair. And she wasn't that old. This was, what year was it?
Honestly, same though. Like, as soon as my hair starts to go gray, nobody's gonna know.
So this is 1587. Oh, I guess that makes a little bit of sense. She was about 45 during this time.
Okay, just kidding. Everyone's gonna know because I'm gonna not shut up about it, first of all. And second of all, once I start dyeing my hair, everyone's gonna know because everyone's gonna be like, why are you dyeing your hair all of a sudden? It's been 28 years, Kourtney. Why are you dyeing your hair?
Because it's gray. I still love you.
Wow.
But yeah, so there is still kind of like a controversy, kind of like an argument among historians about like what actually happened. So those letters, some people, like the casket letters, some people say that they were forged because Mary, with her knowledge and background and everything, like the grammar and everything that good. It didn't match her level of education. So I haven't read the letters. They're only like copies of it. The originals were like burned or destroyed somehow, like that, and then like they were copied in Scotland and whatever. But
this is very curious.
Yeah, I don't have to go into that. It's just a lot of controversy going on. So we'll leave it up to you, the audience, to decide whether or not she's innocent or not.
I don't know how true this is, but I heard that your mind is still active 7 minutes after you die.
That was one point in here that I wasn't going to mention, but now that you bring it up, blah, blah, blah. Where did it go? Is this it? Escape and imprisonment? Trial, execution. Let me find it real quick. Oh, here it is. Okay. So Cecil's nephew, I don't know who Cecil is, but he's a guy who was present at the execution, reported to his uncle that after her death, her lips stirred up and down a quarter of an hour after her head was cut off. Kind of like, I don't know if that's actually how it was, but that's just how I picture it.
Well, I mean, your body can twitch after you die.
It can, yeah.
I just was thinking, like, if your mind is active for 7 minutes, I'm pretty sure it's not like active as in like you're conscious, but it's replaying memories and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that be funny if it's like she had that one last satisfaction of seeing the shock on their faces when the wig came off? Like, ha!
Fooled you.
Gotcha. Deuces.
Anyway, so that's our story today.
Wow.
This week.
Thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome. That was... You what?
I just didn't know what to expect.
Fair enough.
It just threw me through lots of loops. Yeah. Not just one. Lots.
This was a story from, what was it, about a month ago, when I said, like, this story was going to take me a while to research.
Oh.
That's why, because there were a lot of, like, political, geographical, all that kind of stuff. Like, this was a very, like, summarized version of what happened. So, yeah, it was a very long story. So that's why it took me so long to, like, you know, kind of reword it, try to summarize what happened and all that stuff. So, particularly the wars and the battles and all that stuff.
Listen, this is why the Kardashians are so popular. It's because people want to know this stuff. People want to know what's happening. I can guarantee if there was reality television back then, they would be billionaires. Like, everybody's falling around their drama, like, oh no, what's going to happen next? What's Mary going to say?
This is my wife, everyone. Reality TV enthusiast.
And how many podcast stars would be reporting on it back then, huh? Like, the latest, Queen Mary is sentenced to death.
She was wearing a wig the whole time.
That wig, though.
Yeah. Anyway, well...
And her son? Don't even get me started. Where is the loyalty, my friend?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
that's a good story.
We won't bore you anymore with our ramblings. Just to kind of close it up with our typical stuff. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. We are on video now. You can see us. So the video I think is only available on Spotify and when we upload it to YouTube. So
we uploaded last week's, right?
We did. It's up there on YouTube.
I am the worst about advertising. I was gonna like make a post that was like, "Hooray, first episode!" So now it's gonna be "Hooray, second episode."
You can just be like, "We're on video now. Check us out."
No, I've already said it. Now people are gonna be expecting it. Hooray! Anyways, no, I thank you for the story, Myles. Thank you guys all for listening, for tuning in again. And like and subscribe, tell your friends. We've got some really cool birthday advice in the beginning. Yeah. So if you know anybody who has a birthday once a year, like send them this podcast. Just saying.
And again, just because we're like so funny, that's another reason to send it to them.
Always.
Give
them a new favorite podcast. All right. We done?
We are done.
We done?
Bye, See y'all next week.